The Fourth Way by P.D. Ouspensky. Chapter 15. Question. I am only interested in the psychological side of the system, but not in esotericism. Answer. But the psychological side is also esoteric. The system gives you nothing that is not esoteric, for the whole of it comes from the minds that are not ordinary minds. It comes from people who understood things. Ordinary systems cannot bring about any change. The psychological side of the system is even more esoteric than the other side, or it would have no value. It has value only because it comes from higher minds, from their understanding and their ideas. This must be understood. We got this system somehow. If we suppose that it had been created by men on the same level as we are, or that it is a theory, it has no value at all. But it is not a theory. It is supposed to come from school, from men of higher development. If there were no men of higher development, we would have no system. In the beginning, in Russia, Mr. Gurdjieff always insisted that this was not a system. It was just fragments, and one had to make a system out of them. And he insisted that it should be given in this way. Now, I make it more of a system because we have more people, but when it was only a small group, it was just conversation and not lectures. In lectures, it's difficult to speak in fragments, but on the whole, it is still fragments, all the same. Those fragments are on different scales, so you must understand much to put them together on a right scale. The same words and the same theories are used in different diagrams, for instance, all on quite different scales. Question. Can you give me an example of what it means that it is taught in fragments? Answer. Many things are taught like that. All about building up energies, the psychological side, the explanation of how the machine works, the side concerning the world, and so on. It's very important to understand this. Only when you begin to understand how the skill changes, you will be able to understand the system. As I said, it is taught in fragments, each of which is on a different scale. You have to put them together and at the same time correct the scale. It's like several geographical maps, each on a different scale, cut into pieces. You have to see which piece fits which, where the scale is very different and where it is less different. This is the only way to study the system. Question. Do you mean that we cannot talk about the worlds unless we reduce them to our scale? Answer. No, what I mean is quite different. Of course we reduce everything, but what I meant is that we have to study things on different scales, and we must remember this and realize the relationship of different scales and the fact that things change with the change of scale. Also, we must bear in mind that about many things we believe that they mean something, when actually they mean nothing at all. The system teaches us to find difference between realities and imaginary quantities. Question. I feel we have only half the knowledge of the system we could have. Answer. Much less than half. Such as we are, we can only get fragments, but sufficiently big to build something out of them. We must try to understand the structure. When you have all the fragments before you, you may see certain connections, and when you find these connections, you may see many other things. Question. Have you altered the teaching much? Answer. I have not altered it, but I prefer sometimes to start from a different point. In this system, as in any organic system, one can start from any point. This is not an alteration. Everything else remains the same, but I prefer to start with the psychological side. Question. Have the people in the inner circle any control over people in the outer circle? Answer. Yes, but with many reservations. The conscious circle cannot act directly, but only through B influences. Influences C can appear only if influences B are accepted and if people look for them. Men in the inner circle cannot have control over people who do not wish to know them. They cannot use violence because it would mean a wrong triad, a wrong activity. For every kind of result, there is a special triad. For instance, if people wish to acquire control, they can achieve it only in one way. If they act in another way, they will get the opposite result. Wars, revolutions, and so on never give the desired results, but always the opposite results, because wrong triads are used. If people of the inner circles wish to influence other people, they can produce good results only if there is an understanding and only with people who wish it. This is a useful question. Try to think about it. Question. You spoke of the insecure times we live in. Will the school take precautions to protect itself? I understood you to say that a school is not under the law of accident. Answer. I meant that a school cannot be formed by accident, but it can be destroyed by accident. It cannot be formed mechanically, but it can be destroyed mechanically. Take some work of art. It will not be created purely mechanically. It will be made by some special triad, but it can be burnt like anything else. Question. If schools are real things, why do they die? Answer. What do you mean by saying that schools are living things? It is vague and indefinite, but if we take it literally, it will make it quite clear why schools die. All living things die sooner or later. If people die, schools must also die. I have explained that schools need certain conditions. If these conditions are destroyed, the school is destroyed. Question. But the ideas may remain? Answer. Ideas cannot fly. They need human heads. And a school does not consist of ideas. You always forget that school teaches how to improve being. Question. Were no ideas written down in the past? Answer. Certainly they were. But ideas can be written down in different forms. They may be written down in such a way that nobody can read them without explanation from those who know, or without change of being. Take the Gospels. They are written in different ciphers. One must know the key to decipher them, otherwise it would be just a story, doubtful historically, and producing many wrong effects. Question. Will the system give the key to the Gospels? Answer. Some keys, but you cannot expect all the keys. Many of the keys can only be got with change of being. They cannot be only a matter of knowledge. Again, you forget about being. Change of being means connection with higher centers. Higher centers can understand many things, which ordinary centers cannot. Question. Then the New Testament must have misled many people. Answer. The New Testament is written for schools and for different levels. In schools, every word is explained. Every sentence in the New Testament has dozens of meanings. That is why there's so many things in it that we do not understand. We're trying to pass from the level of man 1, 2, and 3 to the level of understanding of man number 4. Other people may be trying to pass to the level of man number 5, and yet others to the level of man number 6, and so on. And they all read the New Testament, so we cannot expect on our level to understand all of it, since it is written in a very clever way. When somebody said it is under 7 locks, he is quite right. One must find one key and use it, and then, with its help, one will find a second key, and so on. but one will not understand it until one has opened all 7 locks. So, if we understand all that is possible to understand on our level, we may get the possibility of understanding more. Question: can a school reach a higher level than the school it started from? Answer: yes. If it works according to methods and principles of schoolwork, it can grow. But again, you must remember that the level of school depends on the level of being of the people who constitute it. Question: was self-remembering a feature of the old esoteric knowledge? Answer: always, everywhere. Only sometimes, for instance, in religious schools, it is called by a different name. It is not arbitrary. Self-remembering is a necessary stage in man's development, not an arbitrarily imposed task. One has to pass through it, and one can pass through it only in one way. Question: did Christ at any time speak about it, and in what words? Answer: almost on every page, in different words. For instance, watch, do not sleep. He spoke about it all the time.